Thousands of farmers are set to descend on Westminster here this week, rallying against Labour's controversial plans to impose inheritance tax on their farms. And joining me now in the studio is the farmer Clive Bailey and his 12-year-old boy Henry. Now, Clive's granddad started their farm in Staffordshire, is that right, after World War II? And let's have a quick chat with you, you wonderful pair. We've had you on the show before down the line. Pleasure to meet you in person and your wonderful lad. Tell us about your farm, how you got going, what it means to you, and then moving into, I know you came out with a line that really touched me, and that was, this feels like a closing of the mine's moment approaching farming. That really resonated with me as a coal miner's son. Enough about me. Tell us about your farm and the position you find yourself in.
OK, well, thanks for inviting us in for a start, thanks. As you just said, my grandfather started the farm. He's the first generation. I'm a third generation farmer from, we farm in Staffordshire, combinable crops, so wheat, barley, beans, that kind of thing. My grandfather started the farm, 8 acres, a tenant, just after the end of World War II. Food security, obviously, people still under rationing, it was important there. And I've just been sat in your green room watching a headline about could this be the start of World War III, and finding it utterly unbelievable that our politicians seem to think they can import all our food and we can be reliant on imports. That's just not smart, is it, really?
And on the screen now, that's your dad, right?
That's my grandfather. That's grandfather, yeah. So that's probably taken back in the, I'd guess, kind of mid-70s.
Beautiful.
His cow. So he was a dairy farmer. It was a dairy farm that I grew up on. My father continued that dairy farm. Foot and mouth, that was the end of that, really, with the end of the dairy farm. And so I came back from university and took it more of a combinable crops route, kind of arable farm. We've expanded the acreage, and next generation, Henry. I've got another son, William, who's at school today. But these guys might not get the opportunity I got or my father got.
So you've ploughed on, poled on the pern. You've against all the odds, the headwinds of the margins we hear so much about from the big retailers screwing you to the floor. The increased costs of transportation, of fertiliser, of everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All the cost base has gone through the roof. The profit margin has been squeezed down, and yet farmers like yourself carry on because of the legacy, because of the ability to pass it on. So recently that's been really brought into focus, and that's been, I know, very, very troubling for you. Yeah,
well, as you say, this is like the straw that broke the camel's back, really. It's the margins are they're embarrassingly low for agriculture. So although we have a lot of capital tied up in what we need to be able to farm, kind of tractors £250,000, combine harvesters £500,000 piece of equipment. This is before you start talking about land and the buildings and the cattle for livestock farmers and whatever. Our returns on that investment can be like 0.5% or less. So you could have a farm that has what sounds like a ridiculous amount of money, £10 million worth of assets, but they're not money to that farmer. They're acres, they're cows, they're crops in the field, they're tractors. They're these tools, like, for instance, a mechanic or a carpenter. This is a tax that's impossible to pay, because it's like asking that mechanic, sell your spanners, you can pay your tax bill. But if you do that, it's not a mechanic anymore, is he? So no one's farming right now for income, for that high income. You're talking, if you're doing well at 0.5%, a £5 million farm could have that could be the farmer doing that. Will probably not even be earning the national minimum wage. So.
And this is your farm here. This is some of your kit on the screen there, is it? That looks like mega expensive machinery. Let's get that on the screen. And what we got? Let's talk through some of this kit. Yeah.
It's horribly expensive stuff, quite frankly. So combine harvester, something like that. That's well north of £500,000, £750,000 you can get to on a combine now. A grain trailer, £30,000, £40,000. A tractor on the front, £250,000. That seed drill, I think about £180,000 now, something like that.
So that's £1 million worth of kit, right there.
Just there, and that's not all we've got. Obviously to farm, and we're not a huge acreage. So that's what you need to be able to do it. That's just the investment needed. I mean, if we went into Dragon's Den saying, look, I've got a great idea, invest £10 million here and I'll make you £40,000-50,000 a year, I think they'd laugh you out the room, wouldn't they? It makes no sense purely from that point of view. But what we have always had, and what my grandfather had, when he died, he had still had that kind of idea that, well, what he had done was going to pass to his son, my son, and I guess Henry wasn't born then, but, it always had that. That's the other reason, really. It's multi-generational. Farming makes no sense a single generation at a time.
Let's bring you in, Henry. You've sat there very patiently. I had a wonderful chat with you earlier on in the green room, and you dream of being a farmer, just like your dad and generations before, right? That's what you want to do. What is it about it that you're drawn to?
It's just like the whole environment aspect, and also I really enjoy like harvest time. It's a really exciting time of the year, and I look forward to when I can one day hopefully run harvest time on my dad's farm.
And who wouldn't want to follow in their father's footsteps like that? How does it make you feel, Henry, when you hear your dad, being so concerned about the future, not only of your farm, but of British farming? Like you aspire to follow in your father's footsteps, and now politicians could take that away from you. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like disappointed in the government, because they're taking away something that me and I'm guessing all of my generation of farms, opportunities to become farmers when they're like older. So it just makes me feel disappointed, really, that I can't get that opportunity.
And we know that the government, Downing Street, watch this show. And I often like to ask our guests when they come in, would you like to give a message to the Prime Minister? What would you say to Keir Starmer if he was watching the show today?
I'd say just think about how this affects my generation of farmers and how it affects their future of doing something that they've dreamed about for years.
Using the internet without a VPN is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. We want to help protect you. This video's sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the VPN to help keep you safe. Now, you might be asking, what is a VPN? Well, a virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it shields your digital life from the eyes of those that are looking to exploit your private information. Whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network, such as at airports, coffee shops, friends' houses, or even in your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. Hackers that are connected to the same Wi-Fi network have the ability to steal your personal data with ease. T-Mobile reached a settlement this year with the US Federal Communications Commission after they suffered data breaches in 2021, 22, and 23. In 2023 alone, over 37 million customers' data was exposed. And it's not just hackers to be concerned about. Information can be censored. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news content that you love. Private Internet Access is available for all platforms: Windows, macOS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one Private Internet Access subscription to protect an unlimited number of devices at the same time. Plus, we've got a huge GB News discount. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get 83% off PIA. That is under £2 a month, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Well, we're talking now about the farmers' strike tomorrow, the farmers' protest tomorrow in Westminster. Thousands of farmers are expected to head to the capital to let their feelings be known. Now, one side of them is the National Farmers Union side, and they are having a meeting inside Parliament, and they are not planning to be militant. But there is another side to this story, because thousands of farmers are set to descend on Westminster this week, rallying against Labour's controversial plans to impose inheritance tax on farms. And I'm trying to get hold of the guy from the Pro Farmers United. He's the councillor, Tim Taylor. This is basically as close, I think, as we're getting to a breakaway union, a breakaway movement from within the farmers' side. Councillor Tim Taylor, leader of the Pro Farmers United, he said the following statement, so I'm hoping to get him up in a minute. He said of Sir Keir Starmer, the government needs to look out. We are not calming down, we are escalating. And we will be escalating big time. I'm keen to find out what he means by that, because none of us, of course, want any trouble on the streets of London or indeed anywhere else. And let's get him up now and talk to him directly. What does that mean? the leader of the Pro Farmers United, Councillor Tim Taylor. Tim Taylor, welcome to the show. So you're obviously not at all happy with what's going on. Tell us what's driven you to be so frustrated.
It's an accumulation of things. Unfortunately, government think they know what they're doing in a rural way of life. And unfortunately, they've got no idea what they're doing when it comes to rural ways, farming ways and food production. Absolutely no ways at all.
So tell us about Pro Farmers United and what you guys believe in, what you stand for, and how many of you are there?
We've 56 members on the WhatsApp group, and we're somewhere around 4,500 members on social media at the moment. So Pro Farmers United was set up by myself as basically a lot of the industry is fed up with the NFU. They're getting no support. So I've took on the job as a new group called Pro Farmers United to fight the NFU. But because I'm a councillor, I've got sort of different ways into Parliament and give us a big, loud, open voice in there as well.
And Councillor Tim Taylor, what is it about the National Farmers Union's approach that has dissatisfied you?
They seem to be too quiet. They seem to do everything what the government wants instead of what their members want. And at the end of the day, it's their membership what basically the National Farmers Union, it is a union, is that there's the farmers what they should be looking after, not what the government want.
And with that in mind, the NFU, I've had Tom Bradshaw, the president of the NFU, on the show a couple of times before. He's for a much more of a diplomatic sit-down approach, trying to be conciliatory. In Westminster, I think they're planning to meet with 100 Labour MPs to let their feelings be known. But you're not quite as, how should you put it, diplomatic as that. What kind of things have you got in store for us?
Now, diplomacy, I'm afraid, doesn't run in my vocabulary very often, no. We're quite direct, but we get results. You know, we've got hundreds of thousands of followers on various social media channels, following us, wishing us luck. The public are on our side, the way we seem to approach things. And yes, I do want to get into Parliament and deal with the likes of the NFU and Tom and various MPs. Let's have somebody with a big voice who's not frightened of upsetting people. Let's get the industry sorted out once and for all. We are a big industry. We're one of the best in the world, and we want to stay there.
Now, we've had lots of people come on the show saying what we don't want is for disruption, tractors blocking bridges, you know, the sort of thing we see on the continent. The police may clamp down on that, and we don't want to see any riots. But I'm sensing by your tone, Tim Taylor, that having a cup of tea and a chit-chat and a hobnob is not going to work for you.
I don't want to see too much disruption. I really don't. I want, and we must keep the public on our side at all times. And unfortunately, it's a lot of the public who don't understand the farming industry, but they hear what the NFU say, they hear what the politicians say. They don't actually understand properly what is going on in the real farming industry and the farming world. If it could be all sorted out with a cup of tea and a hobnob, as you put it, then absolutely great. You know, that would suit me down to the ground. That means I could then move on to the next issue I've got to deal with in my life, not just working about around a budget that has gone completely and utterly against our industry and a lot of the country.
So, Tim Taylor, we're seeing pictures on our screen there from back in March 2024 when there was a parade of tractors and other heavy vehicles from farms around Parliament Square. As we said, it's not about hobnobs and cups of tea for you. What have you got planned for this week? Anything you can tell us?
Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of people going tomorrow on foot to demonstrate and protest, which is great. The best thing we could actually hope for and achieve, and we know we're not going to get it, is the likes of Rachel Reeves to say, right, let's sit round the table and really discuss what the problems are. She believes, and a lot of the public believe, it's due to this inheritance tax. The inheritance tax was the final nail in the coffin. Our industry got hit 3 times minimally in one budget, whether that be the national insurance contributions, Yes, the inheritance tax, but also the VAT on 4x4 trucks. Most farms have got a 4x4 truck to save getting stuck in the mud. They can get around the farms. They've got the towing capacity. We need 4x4s. To have all of a sudden the 20% VAT threshold took off that, now, yeah, 3 times in one budget, that's just ridiculous. We're an industry that can't sustain them sort of hits every time something doesn't go our way.
So you said in comments I read earlier that you are not going to be calming down. We are escalating, and we'll be escalating big time. What will that look like when you come to London this week?
I'm predicting 5,000-6,000 people there tomorrow. I know it was requested for some not to turn up if they hadn't got membership fees to the National Farmers Union meeting. I know there's a secondary group that is going, and yeah, great. The more people, the better. We need the industry publicised, and we need the damage what the budget has done. So not just for farmers. You know, the farmer, believe it or not, is the middle of the line in the food processing system. You've got all the tractor manufacturers and designers of the pieces before that, the machinery manufacturers, the fertiliser manufacturers, the seed people. We are the centre of the line. There's a lot of industries rely on us, including haulage. Now, I'm trying to get the Road Haulage Association on side as well, because they're going to be affected in a big, big way by this budget. They're the sort of people we need to voice opinions for us to go, whoa, enough's enough. Yeah, we are completely reliant upon this industry, and we're being informed and regulated by a government who has got absolutely no idea how the rural way of life actually works.
So, Tim, I'm reading between the lines here, and I'm getting the notion you're talking about blockades. You're talking about stopping food getting to market. Am I right?
I don't personally want to see any food getting stopped being delivered to market at all. I would love to see a lot of imports stopped, but that's not just for now. Imports, I believe we need, but when our own products are empty, when our sheds are empty of wheat, by all means import wheat. But don't import wheat when the British sheds are full. But as in the national insurance contribution system, what she's changed, you've got haulage companies and that obviously pick up products from farm. So it's the end user, it's the consumer that is going to end up paying the price for Rachel Reeves's inability to understand the countryside way of life.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. And that's Tim Taylor, the leader of the Pro Farmers United Union.